Okay, then I can start. So, hi everyone, my name is Tomasz, and I'm here to talk about the newest thing in the AI and development tooling space, which is the Model Context Protocol. And just quickly about me, I'm a team lead at the Scala Open Source team, and I'm also a coordinator and a Virtus representative for the Scala Core team, which is the body that makes some of the decisions within Scala, mostly related to the compiler, but not only. And if you have any issues, you might reach out to me. I can try to figure out if there's some decision, something that needs to be done about it. And I also work on open source. I help out with Scala Steward. We run the public instance of Scala Steward. We also work on build tools such as Bloop, which is the build server that we use in Scala CLI, which is also here, and in Metals, which is another thing we work on. And I work on some certain aspects of the compiler, things related to tooling. So it's a lot of things in the presentation compiler, as well as things, quick fixes, things like that. But enough about me. Let's talk about Metals. I think a lot of you probably heard of Metals. I've been to London to talk about it. So I will only briefly mention that it is a language server protocol. And so it integrates with your editor to provide you some features of an IDE, or all features of the IDE, depending on the IDE, obviously. And it works in a bunch of different editors, such as VS Code, Emacs, Sublime Text. Most recently, maybe not that recent, but Zed will also work with Scala and Metals and NeoVim. Besides VS Code, it will be a lot of different forks of VS Code. But now Metals is also a model context protocol server. So this is the thing I'm going to talk to you today. And I put some pictures here to mention some of the agents or editors, AI-powered editors we've been trying out, where they work with Metals, stuff like that. So for sure, it works with Cursor, it works with Copilot. I've put Windsurf here. I'm pretty sure it works, but I haven't got the license to try it out. But I'm pretty sure we can make it work there. First question you might ask, so Meta is already an LSP server, so why do it here at the same place? So the answer is that we already have all the data that MCP and agents and stuff might need. So we don't actually want a separate tool, because that would be twice the indexes, twice everything. And also to serve this as the MCP server, you really need to do not that much inside of Metals. And it's very, a lot of the tools that we provide are really just a small snippet of code, and it works with MCP. But what is model context protocol? I forgot to change that. So it's model context protocol. So it's very similar to LSP. So you have a client, which is usually an agent or an editor that will ask questions or send requests, JSON RPC requests, to some servers. Those servers can serve you some local data, or they can have requests to APIs. Like, for example, if you want to know weather somewhere, and we want your agents to be able to not hallucinate about the weather, because if it hallucinates about the weather, then you go in a raincoat and it's sunny. So you really want that not to be misleading. So you can have MCP servers that just do API calls somewhere to get you proper information. Why do we need that? Obviously, I already said that, but it's not only like weather. It's also any kind of hallucinations, because AI can go crazy, bonkers. So sometimes you get answers that you're not really expecting, and something that is not helpful. So we want to reduce that amount of non-determinism in your tools, because this is yet another tool for you. AI agents or anything is a tool, and we want that to work for you. So obviously we need some way to make it better. So MCP provides that data to make it better, and it can verify a lot of its responses to you, or even give you a bit more information than it would without MCP. Here's another example of what it might be used for. So if you use any kind of editors, it's hard to ask questions like open questions. And you can actually use agents and MCP to get, like here I ask, what are the Scala docs for some most often used classes inside my workspace? And obviously it started with lists, so that wasn't really that of much of a useful answer, but still, it is a nice way to figure out, to get information about your workspace. As I mentioned, it uses JSON RPC, so very similar to LSP. It's JSON's being sent back and forth, and it provides for everything it does. It provides the schema that the agents needs to adhere to. And there's three main things that can be provided for you with MCP. First of all, resources. I'll mention what they are right now. Resources are anything that's any static context, anything like that. It can be, for example, some logs. So if you want to have a static link to logs to get the information for your agent, then you can query that. You can have MCP show that as a resource for the agent to query. And it needs to adhere to this resources JSON schema. So whenever MCP is queried, so MCP server is queried, it will have a list of those resources, or an empty list. In case of Meetup, we don't have any lists here yet, any resources listed. We don't use them yet, but it might be something to work on. And afterwards, it can read, if it needs it, it can read a specific resource later on. So this is one example, very simple one, but can be much more involved. What we use a lot in methods currently, we implemented, I think, 9 of those are tools. So it's anything that actually interacts with your code and might need to query things, or query an API, like if you had something querying for weather, then that would most likely be a tool, because it needs to do some computation. And the same thing, you can list all the tools, so the agent can see all the tools that are available, and each tool needs to be represented by this JSON schema. And here's an example of a tool we have. So compile file. It needs a name, description, and that schema, which here is very simple. It's just file in focus. So which file you actually want to compile. And you can have any number of those tools. It's not easy to know when the agent would actually invoke them, but if the use case for a tool is simple, it will usually use it for that purpose. And the last thing, we also don't use it that much, are prompts. So you can query MCP server for it's kind of templates for prompts, and get some ideas on how to, for example, debug a problem. Here's an example. I think the examples are much better than looking at the schema. So you can have a prompt called explain code, and you can have arguments to send. So you can have, for example, the language which you're working with, and then the MCP server sends that prompt request for explain code with the arguments, and gets back the full prompt to use. We haven't tested prompts yet. It's mostly tools that we did. but I think it's another step to take, and it might be interesting to share some common use cases within even the whole Scala community, because we can just gather all the stuff that is sensible and just put it inside Metals, or have a way for you to share it on your own with your team or something like that. There's a lot of possibilities here, and I think this needs to be explored more, and it needs to be explored by people to see what's useful for them. And where you can use MCP, as I said, Cursor, Windsurf, VS Code with Copilot now also supports MCP, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of tools that do that. So you can use MCP in a lot of different tools currently. And how does it look in Metals? I already said that we have some tools, mostly it's just tools. But how do we do that? So we have used the official Java SDK. Mostly, we don't use any Scala SDK, which are available already, because we try to minimize the amount of jars that we download. So we always try to have just the simplest libraries to use, because Metals needs to download all the stuff from the internet. And in some cases, it's always worse to make Metals bigger. And we start an HTTP server that the agents can connect to within Metals. And we have, as I said, 9 tools. I will quickly go through them. So each of those tools is represented by the schema. The first one will be just compile full. The schema is simple nothing, really, because it just compile everything. There's this one that I showed before, this compile file. And this will just compile a single file. This run test, which I think we managed to get the agents to actually use a lot. So whenever you ask any agents to write something, then write test, it will try to, if there is MCP, it will try to run that test. And sometimes it will know that it failed to help you, and will try again to fix things. I managed to get something working like that over the last week, and it was pretty useful. Sometimes though, you need to make sure, ask it to use MCP, because I think my colleague Kasia, who investigated it, she also did all of the work around MCP in Metals. She found that it won't try first of all to get you the information without MCP, and only if it can't, it will try to run the tools. But I'll get back to it. So we have blob search, which is just find any symbol, so any package classes, anything that fits this substring. We have a typed glob search, which is similar, but it will be looking just for a certain type of symbol, so a function, method, trait, stuff like that. We have inspect, which will try to figure out what a symbol is. So if it's a method, it will find you the signature. If it's a class, it will show you how the class looks like, stuff like that. So it's basically hover, but a bit more. We also have get docs, which will get you the documentation, Scala docs or Java docs for a certain class, symbol, method, anything. We have get usages, which is basically finding all references to a specific symbol. So it might be useful for agents, especially if they just grab things, because there might be a lot of entities with the same name. And if it wants to, for example, rename a lot of different, rename something in a lot of different files, then it might need to use that tool. We have import build. So if anything changes in your build definition, it will usually they will ask you. So if you ask it to find a library, add it, then it will try to re-import it. It will know that it should do that. So that's interesting that we managed to, this is a simple purpose tool, and it knows that it can use it. And obviously that's 9. but we can add much more. I have some ideas, I'll mention them later on, of what we can add. But for now, we have 9 as a first sample for you to try out. But the most important thing for you probably is how you can actually use it. And for methods, we tried to do it as simple as possible. So you should only need to change the user setting called the method start MCP server. If you look at VS Code cursor settings under methods, you should find start MCP server. That should start the server and also generate the needed configuration file. We've seen instances for people that it didn't get generated for people. We're still investigating that, but I haven't managed to reproduce it. If it doesn't actually create this configuration file, then you can add it manually. There's the port printed in the logs. You need to find it in the logs and then add it to MCP configuration. It's also for cursor, it's under MCP. I'll show it in a bit. Another thing that's important is that I think in VS Code, by default, it will use the Ask chat, and MCP works better, I think, with agent chat. It will do more things, try more things. So I think that's a better use case for MCP. And as I said previously, you sometimes might want to say, using MCP, do this, so that you kind of force it to use it. A lot of the time, if it's something simple like run test, it will know to use MCP, but sometimes it might try things without it and fail. So you might try. You can also have a pre-configured prompt for any of your chats to say that please try to use MCP to make the results better, or something like that. Or not please, because apparently please makes is very bad for energy efficiency. This is how it looks in cursor. As you can see on the left, there's the agent mode. It's a bit small, but if it's on ask, I think you should change it to agent. And if you look at the actual cursor settings, because that's separate than the normal settings, you can look at the MCP part of the settings, and you should see metals green, or you might need to refresh it. It's not yet ideal, especially we had some issues that the MCP server would just disconnect. So we have some workarounds for that to make sure it doesn't happen. Yeah, you'll see all the tools. Very similar in Copilot. You have to switch to agent. It should work in ask mode, but I really believe this is not something, MCP is not that useful in that mode. And you can also see on the left that there's some tools. You should see a tool with a number. That means it detected methods and it detected those tools. Okay, so obviously you want to see how it works. So I'll try a demo. Hopefully it works. Let's do it very simple. So let's just make, hopefully you can see some of it. I'll make it a bit bigger. Zoom in. How do I zoom in? Zoom. Not this zoom. I haven't checked that one. Okay, and it's different. I'll do it differently then. Let's do a test MCP to test. Now I know how to make the editor bigger. So let's start with code. Okay. Now we can do zoom in, zoom in. Okay, let's add a file so that methods actually starts. Let's do diff main equals, yeah, let's do that. Perfect. Okay. So methods did start. It doesn't use MCP currently. If you look at the agent chat, open chat. It doesn't have anything about the tools. Look at the agents, there's nothing. Okay, so we need to check the settings. So metals MCP should show us everything. And let's start. Okay, it should start the server. It created the JSON that we need. And last time I tried it from scratch, I needed to open new chat. Yep. See, open chat. It's in, let's see. Is it working? Yeah, it actually sees things. You can see MCP server here. Okay, we can try something. Can you add a simple test with munit and Scala CLI using directives and test it? Let's see if it manages that. Okay. Yeah, it added munit. That's nice. And it should add a test file. Okay. That's a test file with an example. And now it tries to test it. Can you use MCP for tests? Let's see. Oh, that also happens. So I've had much more issues with yeah. Let's try cursor, because I had some issues with making it because it does see MCP, as you can see, but it doesn't sometimes use it. Let's do cursor. So we can do cursor dot, and I already turned on MCP, so it should start. Yeah, let's enable. This is not a real library. And if you look at the cursor, it sees MCP. And let's see cursor settings and MCP, and it does see it. Okay. Let's try something easier then. Agent, can you find Scala doc for path Java class? Okay. Now this should query MCP. Might be need to make it bigger. Zoom in. Zoom in. And like, yeah. Okay, so it will ask for approval. So it tells you that it's using MCP tool, and it asks for get docs method. And that's the docs it gets. I think that's just it. We might have another bug, but that's, oh no, there's more. Okay. I thought there's less information, but yeah. So it got the results for path. If they're wrong, then we need to debug that. But a lot of the time, if, as I said, the purpose of the tool is simple enough, it will use it. So purpose of getting docs is pretty simple. If you ask the chat for some docs to give you, it will actually use MCP. We could try the more difficult case, but I think we can do it later on. I have some idea for a better example. Okay. So, so in case you want to actually see if MCP is working for you, you can use the MCP inspector. So it's pretty easy to set up if you have Node, or I don't remember which tool it is, NPX, but you will get an actual way to test everything. The only thing I need to check is the port we started on, because that's not pre-filled. Yes, let's see, MCP. No, I named everything names MCP. That's not good. Where was it? Oh, I know where I had the cursor settings. It's 58746. 58746. Okay. And we can list tools. Oh yeah, that works. And let's do Scala util try. Yes, so you can see it actually does invoke those tools. So you can check later on, or if you're using any other MCPs, you can test them, or your own, you can test them this way. Okay, back to the presentation. So obviously, this is just very basic things that we have. So running tests, importing build, there's a lot of things we can still do. So each of those things that we do should actually try to increase your productiveness. So if there's anything you feel we could do, you can mention it. You can collaborate with us to try to get it into the MCP server. But we want those tools that are clearly being used currently, those AI tools are used and will be used. We want to make them actually work for you. It is not, we just want to make them work for you. As I mentioned previously, we could try figure out if we can get you some prompts. So for example, prompt I was thinking about is like debug metal. So if metal is not working, you could have the MCP server query for a prompt to try to debug metals, which we would just have questions. It could run to figure out if everything's fine, or what the user could do to fix their situation. So we could have that. We could have some resources that could we could detect what kind of library you're using, and maybe then query a specific library documentation and get that in some context, that some one file that the MCP server can query, get that context, might be useful. We could add more tools. The one thing I was thinking about, and if we have a bit of time, we can see if we can actually implement this. But one I was thinking about is find dependencies. So when I was trying, I don't remember exactly the feature I was working on, but I was trying to get some library for tests, and it couldn't find that library. It couldn't find any legit library. I think it was a Scala Meta parsing library, and couldn't actually find it. It started even using Cursey on terminal, but it still wouldn't know how to work with it. So I was thinking of maybe some having this complete depth. We should probably have a better description for that, but then MCP agents could use MCP to find dependencies that are real, that it could include in your code. We could have similar thing to what I was saying before. if we have prompt, we could also have some tool run diagnostics to just send you all the data, or send the agents all the data that method has about its state, about everything it does, to see what can be done to fix your IDE. So that's something I was thinking about. We could possibly try to map every LSP, BSP method as a MCP tool. Not sure if it's a great idea. It's an idea. It might be useful for like, for example, if we want the server to know about resources that are available within a module, then BSP has exactly a method for that. So we could try to have some way of automatic mapping. We don't have that yet, but this is some ideas I had. Basically, anything that the agent will ask or will try to do and it fails, if Meetup has that information, we could provide a tool for you to make sure it doesn't hallucinate. So anything really that you feel we know and we could give it that information might be used. So don't hesitate to report such cases, or it's really not that difficult to add new tools. And if you're interested in MCP itself, you can even write your own servers. There are some Scala MCP SDKs. I'm pretty sure there's one for every ecosystem out there. You can try also just the Java one. And if you want to work on MCP, they actually provide you this LLM's full text as an additional context, so that you can get it into your agents and later on have that context help you implement whatever you need. So this is what I was thinking in terms of all those libraries we could use. Like if you use cats, we could have a similar thing automatically for you. Or if you're doing MCP, we could also download it for you, so you wouldn't have to think about it. So this is, so some of the SDKs, there's some links. I think Anton was mentioned. The second one is his. The first one, I think, is with cats. I haven't checked them out that much. And if you want, I can put more here if there's more MCP SDKs. But the main thing from this presentation is that please do try it out if you want. And if you feel like there's something we can improve, tell us. If you think there's more tools we can add, also tell us. Anything we can improve makes your life with AI, which sometimes some companies even force you to use, so we really want those tools to be working for you, and so that you don't have to fight with them. And there's some other MCP servers that people are starting to implement. I only found Anton's one, so about Scaladex. If you have knowledge of more that we could probably add here, let me know. I'll probably use this presentation once or twice, but for sure I'll post it somewhere so that people can get more. I've also already asked about MCP multiple times, so this might be useful to have that presentation out there. I'll try probably to have a small blog post also about it. Yeah, so the presentation is here. I'll leave it for a second. That's under slides.com, Tomasz Godzik, so yeah, you can make a picture here, or I will send it also later on. And if you have questions, then you can reach me on all those social media. I'm also on Twitter, but not that much anymore because it's no longer Twitter. But you can also email me if you're a fan of the old electronic mail. And we can spend time on questions, or I can try to use MCP to do some code. I don't know how much time do we have actually from your side. But let's try questions. If there's no questions, I can use any remaining time to try out MCP more. Any questions? So.
It should be on. It is on. Okay.
Yes, I was wondering how or whether you currently log when the agent or the LLM gets it wrong.
Oh, we don't, but I don't think we have that information really, because we only have the information what the LLM asked. We don't know if that answer, like if that question was wrong, because like in metals, we only have certain data. We could log things like when it got the name of the class wrong. We could do that. We could try whenever it didn't get any results because of what it sent. So we could try that. From what I've seen, it manages to actually use the tools pretty good. So if I have a very nebulous query, like tell me where's that LSP server class, send it to me. It will first use the glob search to find that entry, and then it will have the correct entity name and will then get it. So a lot of the time it will, if it's not an exact ask, if we're not asking about something exact, it will try those searches. But we could try those logs and maybe put that in a report somewhere. Not sure if we'll be able to debug that a lot of the time, but we could. Any other questions?
We have a tentative question.
Okay. Well. Hi, Tomek. Thanks for the talk. Where can I report the issues? Is like still on the same GitHub for metals issues,
Yeah.
or is there a separate section for it?
No, we don't have any separate section. You can for sure. It's a new thing. We just released it, so I'm pretty sure there will be issues. I'm happy that it works well enough in a lot of cases, but there for sure will be issues to report, and they can go to the GitHub, the normal GitHub.
Yeah. Okay, that works. Thanks.
I have a question, Tomasz.
Yes.
So do you have any advice on prompts to convince it to use the actual MCP server instead of, guessing?
I usually just, could you use, maybe I shouldn't use MCP to run tests or something like that. A lot of the time it actually does it on its own, but if there's some troubles with MCP, I had some issues with VS Code. Last time I managed to fix them, but I didn't have time to work on it. Now Cursor is usually working better with MCP. It's also experimental, so it might still have some quirks, not only in metals but also in editors. But usually just please use MCP to run tests, or using MCP could you do something, but it might still not work. Though I added a prompt, so every chat starts with that prompt, basically that it should try to use MCP, and maybe it helps, but I actually get the agent, when it makes sense, it does ask questions. It doesn't ask too many questions when implementing things. When you ask it to implement some function or something, it will actually do it on its own, and maybe then use MCP for testing, but not really as a main thing. It will not ask signatures a lot of the time. So I'm not still sure why it doesn't do that. Maybe when there's an error, then it can ask why there's an error, because ask the signature and then try to fix it thanks to that signature. But yeah, I'm not sure. It has used docs, glob search, the tests, build import, those were used pretty often from my experience. But yeah, there's the only thing you can do with LLMs, just tell them to do something, and they might not, you know.
Cool, thank you. Threaten them with violence often works as well. It's weird, but it works.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any questions from Krakow? Obviously, I can't
Do we
tell.
have any questions?
I have a question.
Christoph has a question.
I need to repeat after me.
Yes, I will repeat after you.
Good. So have you tried to use MCP, or there are any plans with non-IDE based models? Because I heard from good friends that the next wave of like how we will interact with agents is not through IDEs, but through command line.
Oh, so the question is whether we use MCP with command line based agents, and I haven't really. I kind of feel like it's better in an IDE because you can see the diffs and you can accept them or reject them. And with terminal, if someone is very much terminal oriented, maybe it's worth a shot for them. But I don't believe it will be a next wave for a lot of people who are already in the IDEs and they don't want to move from their IDEs. So I don't think it is an interesting concept, but yeah, it feels like you have even less control over it.
But this is exactly what you want, because you delegate more work and expect results to be done. So you don't want to review every step and approve the thing. You just said, write me this feature and come back in 20 minutes to see if it's done or not. So
Christoph is saying that he's happy not having control over it, and that maybe it's fine that we ask it, and after you come back after 20 minutes without any control, and it spits out something. I don't know. I don't believe that's that useful. And I know there's been demos and people showing things like, oh, this works. You see, I have a whole thing. But I also, when I was watching, for example, I think there was an OpenAI terminal-based app. The people in the comments are saying, but it's very expensive, saying that it's very expensive. They cannot do anything on the lower tiers. So I feel like this might not be, especially that a lot of the better models cost a lot of money. So I believe there's like, it's very good at those small snippets, but making it create the whole project for you, if it's not a throwaway project. We had a presentation yesterday about more general about AI, and there was a comment that if it's a throwaway thing, you don't even have to do anything. If it's not something you're shipping, maybe it's a small tool that you need for now, it's fine. But otherwise, you do want to have control over what's happening. If it's something that you will give to your clients, something that you will do for your company, then you want to have control over it. If maybe the models will get better, I don't know. I want to make whatever currently works work for people and not assume things get better. There might. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? There's no other questions. I don't think we have enough time for me to implement one thing. I was thinking that maybe I have more time for demos, but I don't think so. But there was one question that I think somebody asked on Reddit, is that why not fix metals? Why focus on add this MCP thing? My answer is that we are doing bug fixes. All the easy bug fixes are always fixed pretty quickly. We have reproduction, and if we have a reproduction, a lot of the time we'll be able to fix it quickly. But the tougher ones, it's not that you're able to spend 2 weeks on them and fix them. You need sometimes a reproduction. You need to fight with some tools that interact with metals or something. It's not as simple as that. And also I feel like we need to have some way of making AI tools better for people. So, and if we put that into metals, it's pretty straightforward for anybody already using metals. So I feel it's the perfect place to put it. And it's a nice enough feature for people to, make them more productive, despite some bugs not being fixed right away. Yeah, so that was a question in case of no questions, but I still have a bit of time. So, okay, I think that's it then. Unless Zainab, you want me to show something more?
We need a vote on pizza or demo, I think. So, okay, hands up for pizza. Okay, hands up for demo. I think it's split, right? Isn't it?
Oh no.
Be more decisive. Okay, pizza.
Pizza. Okay.
Oh,
Let's do
okay.
pizza.
Actually, it turned out to be pizza. I think, did it? I don't know. Demos. Put your hands up.
I'm
No,
sorry, Tomasz. It looked like you've lost out to pizza.
Yeah,
It's fine. I'm a bit. My voice, I think, is. I can. I actually managed to quick then because I practiced that demo possibly the Cursor option to add a tool for Cursor. I managed to get an agent to actually implement it, which was quite amazing because I prepared the schema and put the schema, and it was simple enough for the agent to create the tool, and it added a test, and then the test failed and it ran the test. So that's the demo. So you can go eat pizza. Thank you all for joining, and have a nice pizza. Let me know when
You need to give it about a second, Zainab, before it starts picking up.